Good afternoon, friends. 12:56 Eastern Standard Time area. How are you? What is up, friends? Well, on my last two vlogs, I put out a question. Is there what's going on? Is there some sort of wider attack going on? What's up with the ship that was jammed in the Suez? Okay, that was an accident. For the common people of the United States of America, has the question of the origins of CV19 been correctly addressed? Why wasn't it prevented? Are people even allowed to ask that question? And I'm not talking about hate. I'm not talking about that. Just because you have questions about it does not mean that you hate people of Asia, of Asian descent. Not at all. Quite the contrary, the ordinary person from Asia has also suffered from CV19. What's up? Anybody out there? I've got my hat on from the Lambs Company. That's supposed to provide some relief from EMF. Let you know in the future how that's going. Anybody out there? Anybody out there? Join in the chat. So I will be, again, repeating the lineup. Suez ship jammed. CV19 pandemic. Massive cyber attack on the Colonial Pipeline. Definitely some intense fighting also in Gaza, in the Middle East. What do you guys think about this? Anybody out there? It is Thursday, 2021, May. Thursday, May. I think it's the 13th. Thursday, May 13th. Everybody jump in. What do you guys think? I'm going to be doing very soon. Maybe I'll even drop off this. Nobody talks about this general paranoia vlog I'm doing right now. I'm going to do a review of John Dee and the Empire of Angels, Enochian Magic and the Occult Roots of the Modern World by Jason Louv. Really interesting book. How does that play into everything? Also, I'm going to be talking about the Code Breakers of Poland, whose contribution to the war has been left out. We've got two people in. Jump in the chat if you want to chat. Is it even permissible now to bring up this as a citizen? I'm asking, what is up? So we're looking at gas lines similar to the era of President Jimmy Carter developing. We're looking at inflation. Yes. How you doing, Dr. Igor? Yeah, there seems to be a lot going on. And, you got to ask. Trillions and trillions. Trillions, if not billions, certainly billions, but probably trillions. Actually, definitely trillions spent on security of the United States. I've heard it quoted 700 bases, 800 bases, 1,000 bases. And yet one could argue been let down. I mean, September 11th attacks, big, very, very successful against the United States. The Boston Marathon, the CV-19. Okay, if it's a natural phenomena, all right, fine. Wasn't prevented. Some people do an overkill on it. I've heard, nevertheless, there's 900,000 Americans dead from it. Why? With all this defense money. And now Arthur Clarke, or the man named Clarke, who was a security expert who they interviewed a lot. No such thing as a coincidence. I know. He did indicate that the next threat to the United States will be massive cyber attacks. And we've got one on our hands. And let me see. The Colonial Pipeline Company has apparently paid so far $5 million in Bitcoin ransom. Bitcoin ransom. And inflation is of deep concern to the American people. Colonial Pipeline Company paid nearly $5 million to Eastern European hackers, so they say they're Eastern European. Of course, to be fair, if they are Eastern European, the current president did say something to them, relatively recent. He told the Russians he was going to attack them with, he said he was going to hit them with cyber attacks. Biden says Russia has some responsibility in the hack. Okay. But Biden says no evidence Russian government was involved in the hack. But then he says Russian link cyber attack on U.S. fuel line. He did say Russia will pay the price for interfering in the 2020 election. And I believe he did mention that he was going to hit them with some type of attack. So this is a ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline. Joe Biden said that this was back in March. Joe Biden said the Russian President Vladimir Putin will face consequences for directing efforts to swing the 2020 U.S. presidential election to Trump. I thought it was the 2016. He will pay a price. I don't know what this pertains. It's just kind of generalized. I'm drifting. Biden. Anyway, he said that was back in March. Biden will cyber attack Putin. Preparing for retaliation against the pollution of cyber attacks. Biden's decision, how hard to punch back at Putin's hackers. All right, I shouldn't even get into this because the accepted narrative is I don't know. I don't want to get into the Facebook bots thing or redwelling on the 2016 election or anything like that. I just without I mean I just can't say that these events are purely coincidental, just like Dr. Igor, my new friend, is going into. And I mean, as ordinary citizens, you just feel like, what WTF? I mean, ridiculous. Superpower country brought to its knees. Let's face it, more or less. This pandemic has changed everything forever. And now we've got the jam. I mean, that jam ship in the Suez alone, billions in trade, showing it's almost like a warning, like, well, what can be done? And, this cyber attack on the pipeline could have been worse. What if it's with nuclear facilities? How many meltdowns, how many Chernobyls can they make when they're messing around with this stuff? It's extremely, extremely dangerous business. What do you guys think? Just anybody jump in. It just does not look like and ordinary people are like going for the status quo, right? No discussion. just for this vlog, I wonder if I'm losing the social credits. I don't mean to. I would like to just ask these questions as a citizen. I mean, I don't mean to take a side for Vladimir Putin or not. I just have to say, using some common sense, the population of his country, they're just not, they're not in any way a realistic competitor to the United States. They lost too many people in the war. The massive GDP power is going to India and China. Not advocating for war with them. I think we should have more talks with China. Was there a laptop? There might have been a laptop. But to the degree to which American people are debating and discussing news events is zero now. It's literally Fox, CNN, or nothing. And as I always say as a disclaimer, I'm not going to say I'm for or against Tucker Carlson. He's definitely an interesting guy. But he actually brought up whether or not the possibility, yeah, we're told that it was an accident about the container ship in the Suez. And this shadowy group, we're supposed to just say this is an East European group. I do recall that it was stated that let me see if I can apologize. I'm having trouble pulling up the exact story. But the current president did issue some sort of weird or interesting kind of proclamation about hitting Putin and making him pay. I'm not going to say yay or they. I don't want to offend anybody here. But the narrative of the DNC for a long time has been a lot of, that Russia is behind a lot of the problems of the United States. And Joe Biden did win the election, and he's in control. And he did mention some things. Let me see if I can get the exact thing that he said. Not to mention there's a huge fighting going on now in Gaza. As far as the DNC's opposition or any investigation of their activities, it looks like that nothing happened. Everything was a nothing. Durham Didn't do anything. And also, we've had a lot of tension in the Ukraine. Tremendous amount. And Biden did call President Putin a killer. Okay, so back about 2 months ago, he announced in the New York Times a super secret cyber war with Russia. Uh, well, if he did that, uh, I got to say respectfully to the current administration, I would say we're losing that super secret cyber war. Um, in fact, if there is one going on, from everything I can tell, we're getting our ass kicked. Yeah, yeah, they got the pipeline. Hey, we've got 3 listeners. This isn't Stalin's Russia, but Putin is most definitely in the club. I'll give you as a counter narrative to that, I'll give you a interesting. Manifest Destiny is a book. William I'm really going slow today, Dr. Igor. Manifest Destiny, Democracy as Cognitive Dissonance, William Engdahl. I did do a review of this. And it talks about the NGOs. It talks about shock therapy. And I just got to say, I can see from their standpoint why they back Putin. He's Russian, but he's nationalistic and for Russia, and they've turned back to their Orthodox faith. That doesn't mean, as a Pole and Polish American, that I'm not concerned ever about Russia and the tense relationship with Poland, but it cuts both ways sometimes. And that book is interesting. And they were descending badly, and he has brought them up. And, kind of the peace with Russia narrative was important to some people in this country, but it's just can't seem to get any legs. And you know, just people just in lockstep are like they're the greatest threat. small population and whatnot. But because of the antagonism, at least for right now, the Sino pact with China and relationship with China and Russia are getting along well. As a result, could it be as a result of the antagonism by the neoliberals and the neocons? And are we even allowed to say this? What's your take on that, Dr. Igor? How does it relate to the attacks? My gosh, if somebody watching this, they think I'm a pro-Russian agent. No, that's not it. I don't know. And I think they're backing off of that and saying it's a private group, which I said in the last chat seems to be not that different than the hacker group in Mr. Robot. I definitely am advocating for a stand down. But the influential people in the States are not quitting when it comes to taking on Russia. And I'm still going to go more with my general thesis that we haven't been protected. It's just really weird, though, that that he announced a cyber war against Russia. Let me see if I can call that up. One thing I don't mind putting my neck on the chopping block for is part of the reason why I'm against this antagonism is because my brothers, my Polish brothers, are right next door to Russia. Biden reveals secret cyber counterattack against Russia. Biden must punish Putin's cyber attacks. Biden reveals sanctions. Biden responds, preparing for retaliation against Russia. Brzezinski. Brzezinski is definitely the whipping boy of the conspiracy community, and when anything ever comes up, they just point to him. He was definitely, to me, very nationalistic United States, pretty hawkish. But in one of his books, he did indicate that the threat of Al-Qaeda was the term that was more used at that time, and then later ISIS would become the main discussed enemy. I mean, he placed it and said Al-Qaeda's threat was overestimated, and He said percolating discontents, that is, people who are having a lot of trouble, are going to migrate into Europe and North America. And I think he's been right on in that. And there was a phrase that people jumped on when he said we need a new Pearl Harbor because America is a very diverse country and people don't feel as connected to each other as people would say. Diversity is our strength and all that. Of course. I love all people too, but the demographics have drastically changed. So he said prior to the 9/11 that there would have to be a catastrophic event to unite the people of the United States. So they sort of said, well, oh, he was the architect of it. He was hawkish, and he was one of the people that did heavily promote funding the freedom fighters, the Mujahideen, in Afghanistan against the Soviets at that time. If you don't want to read about it, then you just rent Charlie Wilson's War with Tom Hanks for the, shall we say, easygoing, simplified version. That was a successful operation, and at that time, the freedom fighters were our friends. And it was complete with a Rambo movie where he fought alongside our brothers over there. But then, the narrative goes, we left them and things went bad. And then it became a home or a place to hide for the extremists known as Osama bin Laden of the Al Qaeda. You may have noticed people aren't talking about that threat as much in North America and in Europe. What happened to the threat from so-called Islamic extremism? It is now, the threat is apparently and has always maybe been regular deplorable Americans. I don't know. Or Brexit, pro-Brexit people. But yeah, Brzezinski is definitely fascinating. And again, it just blame it all on the Polish guy, right? Brzezinski. He's the New World Order mastermind. First of all, he's dead. I don't know what's up with his daughter. She's your typical neoliberal herself. Yes. Anybody out there? So I just seen that for years. It's funny, guys like, oh yeah, he said that quote, we'll need a new Pearl Harbor, therefore he knew something about everything and blah blah blah. No, his books are awesome in terms of what they delve into. And they are to be read. But they blame the guy for everything. In truth, he was very hot. He was under President Jimmy Carter, who wasn't completely a dove as much as you'd think. He sent the funding to fight the Russians in Afghanistan. How much of Brzezinski's motivation was the Katyn Forest massacres and others in Poland by the then communist Russians in World War II? I've wondered that. Would have loved to ask him, but he passed away. Hope any of this is interesting. That book is very cool, Manifest Destiny. All right. Talking controversial stuff. Have I showed my hand as a Russian sympathizer? I don't know if we should be picking a fight with them. But apparently other people think, I mean, I would I don't think we should be picking a fight with anybody. We should be engaged in intense dialogue with China. But instead, no trade talks, and we let it all away. And now the antagonisms are building up. Talk of, again, Taiwan invasion. I don't know. Dialogue with China. Friendship. Dialogue with Russia. Friendship. So, hey, if you're watching this YouTube and you think I'm some type of guy that, doesn't like the elites, and I've given Brzezinski a pass and I'm defending Russia, well, whatever. Fast forward to 36, 32 minutes. I'm for peace and dialogue. Strength through peace. All right. I hope this was somewhat helpful. Thank you, Dr. Igor. Brzezinski, I don't think he was hit with the lizard thing, Dr. Igor. Good talking to you, brother. I'll be on more. I'll probably be on late tonight. Probably be on very late tonight, gabbing. All right. Hope everybody's good. And God bless and peace out.